recording. And all right, so Mother Mondays. Looking at God as Mother right now, we're looking at Sri Sharda Devi and her divine play in a book at least compiled and put together by Swami Chaitanananda at the St. Louis Center. And we are on page 411. And we're picking up with Holy Mother in Jairambati in January of 1920. Oh, here comes Rangu. Very good. Hello, Rangu. We're on page 411.
Hi, Swami. Good evening. Sorry, I'm late.
No worries. I know you're driving with wet hair and a towel on. No problem.
I can't hear you. Can you speak up, Swami?
No, I won't say that again.
Sounds like you were pulling my leg again or being mean. Sorry.
No worries. Hey, Stephen, welcome to you as well. And Sarah, I didn't get to say hi to you guys yet.
Oh, I said that from the laughter all around. I said that from the laughter all around. Everybody else knew what you were saying.
All right, page 411. What's out?
Hi. Hello.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
When Holy Mother was in Jairambati in January of 1920, she was not well. Nonetheless, she still got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to sit on her bed for meditation. Oh boy. I need to highlight that. I'll have to get a pencil later. What a great thing to read. Boy, that's a struggle sometimes when it's time to get up in the morning and go do your practice and you make yourself go. But 3 o'clock in the morning, what a hero. To sit on her bed for meditation. Then she would lie down again. Some of her young disciples would go to her room and meditate with her. Sometimes the mother gave them some specific instructions. Once, one of the monks of the order was ill and was staying at a householder's house. She remarked, "Why should that monk live with a householder just because he is ill? One can stay in the monastery or at an ashrama. It is not right for that sick monk to stay at the devotee's house for such a long time. A monk must not lower the ideal of renunciation. If a wooden image of a woman lies upside down on the road, a monk must not even turn it over, even with his foot, to look at its face. It is extremely bad for a monk to possess money. There is nothing the round pieces of silver rupees cannot do, even to the extent of endangering one's life." After saying this, the mother told a story. A monk used to live on the seashore at Puri. He had some money. Two of his disciples came to know about it. They could not resist the temptation. They stole the money and killed the monk. Oh my goodness gracious. Holy Mother insisted that her devotees pay respect to the monks. In 1919, when she was staying with Radhu at Kolapara Ashrama, Brahmachari Bharata was preparing the shopping list according to Holy Mother's instructions. At that time, a woman devotee happened to pass that way, and her cloth inadvertently touched Bharata's back. Although he did not notice it, the mother did. Irritated, she said to the woman devotee, "Hello, don't you see this young boy was sitting here in front of me and writing? Are you not aware that your cloth has brushed over his back? He is a brahmachari, and you are a woman. You should pay respect to the monks. Touch the upper corner of your cloth to the ground and bow down to him." The mother spoke in such a serious tone that it became a lesson for the other women. Wow, that's beautiful that on her part, just holding that ideal of monasticism and really protecting that for her disciples, for the young monks. That's such a challenge. I mean, that just the height of the discipline that she is encouraging and demanding that ideal never be lowered. Absolutely beautiful. and the way she looks out for it. Krishna says in the Gita that 4 kinds of people worship God: the afflicted, the inquiring, the solicitors of wealth, and the Gyani. All are noble souls indeed, but the Gyani worships God without any selfish motive, so he is the best. One day, Swami Kaivalyananda asked Holy Mother, "Mother, those who have taken refuge in the Master are equal, whether they are monks or householders, and will be freed in the end." The mother replied, "What do you mean? How can a monk and a householder be equal? Householders possess so many worldly desires, whereas monks have renounced everything for God. Who else belongs to them other than God? Can householders be compared with monks?" Sometimes spiritual egotism is an obstacle to the seekers of God. Swami Vrajeshwarananda served the old monks of Belur and was loved and appreciated by them. But he thought, instead of gratifying my self-importance in this way by gaining the affection of the old monks, I would do better to leave here and practice austerities. He knew that the Math authorities would not give him permission to leave, so he went to the mother in Udbodhan and opened his heart to her. She asked him where he was going and inquired whether he had any money. He replied that he had no money. He was planning to walk to Varanasi and to practice austerities there. The mother tenderly told him, "My son, this is the month of Kartik, October, November. People say that all 4 doors of Yama, the god of death, are open in this month. Being a mother, how can I let you go? You say that you have no money. What then will you eat when you are hungry, my son?" Vrajeshwarananda abandoned his plan. I think it's a good idea. I think mother would have scolded him, actually, for thinking that going and doing austerity was more important than his service to the older monks there in the Arogya Bhavan. I used to go over and visit the old monks when I was there. It was just one marvel to me that all of these senior monks, these really aged old men who had spent their life as monastics, all of them there together. And what an amazing thing just to go around from room to room and just have conversations with them and find out about them. There were always some real treasures to be found there, some wonderful conversations. And if nothing else, even those monks that couldn't really move or talk anymore, just the looks on their faces and that wonderful, those wonderful holy eyes. You must know what I mean. Those, when you run into those older monastics who have really, lived a wizened life, and you see them in their last days, their eyes, even though their bodies may be emaciated, maybe they're unable to move, but they'll lie there, and when they look at you, boy, what a love, what a sweetness can be seen in them. So the spiritual egoism, that young brahmachari was concerned about that egoism, as so many of us, all of us are concerned about egoism, because that is the veil. Our egoism is the whole reason that we're not seeing the divine, that we're not knowing that the divine presence is this moment, that mother is surrounding us and touching us and really nurturing us at this very moment. This is God's dream that we inhabit. It's not a material world. It's a world of projected consciousness onto the surface of pure mind, that presents this world to us. And so just like in a dream where the distance between you and the nearest object seems like air in the dream, it's not. It's the presence of God. And it's the same in our waking state here. This is not a material world. We've talked about that before, how that's possible, but that it's God. And you see, if you think of the air as God and the light as love, which are realizations of different seers, just think how intimate our relationship with the beloved is. At this moment, the light that is just encircling us, illuminating us. Eckhart Tolle in his realization said light and love are the same. And I mention that quite a bit because it's such an encouraging and beautiful thought, that is wonderful for reminding us about the presence. You know, it's one of the big practices for all of us, I think, to learn to see the indicators of the beloved in the world around us, to stop seeing the world as objects and things that flicker and create desire, and to start recognizing the presence in and through all of them. Because if you do that, and you do that with sincerity and earnestness, eventually and quickly, what happens is that all the things in the world that used to distract you will now help point at that unchanging element within you, the self. You know, that all of the movement and all of the change will remind you, will indicate those things that do not move and do not change. And it helps you quite a bit. You know, in the mornings I've been doing that practice. I've been sharing it for a couple days here, actually, because it's really having an amazing effect. And I share those things because I hope that they're interesting, at least to people, and maybe even possibly inspiring to some. But to do them so that our spiritual life doesn't get caught, you know, it doesn't just stay the same every day, but that we can grow from day to day and find more and more truth and beauty and bliss and wisdom in our relationship with the beloved from day to day. You know, that we try new things, that we are active and engaged in our spiritual life, that it's not just a portion of time that we set aside, not just a set of exercises that we set aside, but that it's a living relationship. It's a dynamic relationship that's unfolding freshly every day for us and advancing. You know, like with your lovers. You know, your worldly lovers, your husband, your wife. You know, your relationship now is nowhere the same as it was when you first met. Why? Because of the investment and the time and the love that's grown and the gifts that have been shared and the sweet thoughts that have been spoken. You know, the touches that have expressed love and expressed forgiveness, and the troubles and the fights and all of those things that you've invested in forgiveness and you've invested in fixing and have made that relationship so important to you. The reason that God opened that householder path like that is to teach you that, to show you that. Look how you're developing your relationship with your partner. Look how you're serving your partner. Look how the love is there between you. Thus, you and I, you know, Mother says to you, Thakur says to you, Jesus says to you, Buddha says to you, that relationship is your relationship with me. You know, this relationship with me is as dynamic and as alive and as important and as fulfilling and as much of a refuge as the partner I've given you, you know, to hold my place, as it were. Sometimes monks can also develop a superiority complex, getting upset if people do not show proper respect to them. This is one of those funny things. It's not funny at all, but it's funny that it happens, you know, because it's the absolute antithesis of being a sannyasa. You know, but it's something we have to watch, because spiritual pride is one of the most dangerous attackers for our spiritual practice. It's a really dangerous one and very, very, very hard to overcome. Why? Because all of the means of overcoming that spiritual pride have become the same means that are feeding that pride. So you see that danger. It's like, a lot of times I've seen senior swamis tell young monks who have gotten proud of their practice or proud of the amount of meditation to forbid them meditation for a while, you know, so that they can readjust their thinking and so that their ego doesn't continue to grow because of the danger of that, you know, of becoming like this, being a monk who's got a superiority complex, you know. The mother once cautioned Swami Arupananda, saying, "This spiritual egotism is terrible. Some monks have inflated egos and they seek praise and honor." She gestured to her white sari and continued, "It is better to wear a white cloth and to cultivate inner renunciation than to wear an ochre cloth." Holy Mother asked the monks not to follow too many external formalities, but to instead develop intense faith and a steadfast devotion. Yeah, see, she wants that focus to remain on relationship, on presence, on inspiration inner inspiration, that our spiritual life is not the practices, it is not the exercises, it's not the discipline, it's not the length of time or even the quality of time that we spend. It's the relationship, it's the love. Our relationship with God, our spiritual practice, our spiritual life is really only for two things, according to Swami Vivekananda. It's to make us unselfish, to allow us to be unselfish, to not be circulating our whole life around our own center, our own self, right? So it's to make us unselfish, and then in the proactive way, it's to make us loving, right? And so that's how we know that we're moving forward in spiritual life. We ask those two questions, Vivekananda says. Ask yourself, are you unselfish? And then ask yourself, are you loving? So the unselfish part is like the neti part, the not doing. Okay, I'm not being selfish. I'm not always thinking myself. But that's not enough. It's not enough just to be unselfish. He then asks, are you proactive? Are you going out and serving? Are you going out and loving? Are you going out of your way to express that divine love within you for the divine love that exists in everyone, right? So Mother asked the monks not to follow too many external formalities, but instead develop intense faith and a steadfast devotion. When a devotee, later Swami Jagadananda, asked the mother for sannyasa, she took the ochre cloth, touched it to the master's feet in his picture, and then touched it to her head and gave it to him. She said, I have given you the ochre cloth. Now, you must go to Bellarmont and take formal vows through the Varaja Homa, a special fire sacrifice, from Rakhal, and he will give you a monastic name. As Holy Mother encouraged some young men to follow the path of renunciation, she also encouraged some young women. When Narayan Iyengar's daughter wanted the vow of brahmacharya, Holy Mother asked Sharadananda to write the girl's father for permission. Another time, a devotee's daughter refused to marry. The girl's mother requested Holy Mother to ask her daughter to marry. The mother replied, what misery to be a slave to a man all through life and to please him always. Then she explained that there might be some difficulties for a girl in leading an unmarried life, but it would be unfair to force any girl into wedlock against her will. So that's quite nice. I wonder there when this devotee who became Swami Jagadananda, that he asked for sannyasa from the Holy Mother, and she gave him the ochre cloth. But then she asked him to go to Bellarmont and join in with the rest of the monks and to take the sannyas vows from the sannyas guru, and I just wonder if she's making an example there of a situation where she didn't want him to have to struggle with pride because he got his sannyasa directly from the Holy Mother, and bypassed all of the public work that has to go into the ceremony at Bellarmont. And so but because she had a mother's heart, she didn't want to discourage him. So she gives him the ochre cloth, touches it to the master and then her head, and then says, but now go and take your vows at Bellarmont with the other monks that are taking sannyas from Rakhal. Whenever any monk had a problem, he would rush to Holy Mother for help. After Premananda passed away, Shivananda was made manager of Bellarmont. The younger Nagan, Brahmachari Akshar Chaitanya, did something foolish. The other monks told him that Swami Shivananda would throw him out of the monastery. Scared, he left the monastery without informing anyone and walked barefoot to Jairambati without even a spare cloth. When he reached there with dirty clothes and a haggard look, no one recognized him as the Brahmachari of Bellarmont. Seeing how exhausted he was, the mother gave him a fresh cloth, asked him to bathe, and fed him. After listening to his story, she dictated a letter to Shivananda. My dear son Tarak, what offense has the younger Nagan committed? Being afraid that you will turn him out of the monastery, he has come to me all the way on foot. My son, can a mother take heed of her child's offense? Please don't take any action against him. She kept Nagan with her until the reply came. Shivananda responded, Mother, we are relieved knowing that Nagan went to you. We have been searching for him. Kindly send him back here. There is a shortage of workers to perform the worship here. I will not take any action against him. After receiving the letter, the mother gave the brahmachari permission to return. I love those stories. I really, really love those stories. One, because of the heart of God, just always being reminded of the heart of our beloved like that, that we have a refuge, that we can run and take refuge, and that it's a refuge we can trust. No matter what we deserve, that refuge and the door to that refuge is always open, and the winds of grace are always blowing. And the Divine Mother takes you back, gives you back your dignity, gives you back your strength, and then above all, gives you her forgiveness, gives you her grace, for that confidence and for that strength and that knowing that you are here. There's nothing more wonderful than to remember when you're sitting in meditation in the shrine, to remember that you're there by invitation, that you're not there as a beggar, you're not there as a worker, you're not there as any of those things, that you are in the company of your beloved, and you are there because she that has brought you there, has wanted you there, has been planning your return to truth, your return to freedom for your entire length of lifetimes, right? And to sit there and just remember that and find that joy of what it is to sit in the presence of the mother, invited, loved, nurtured, taken care of, with the hope of that grace, with the hope of that strength. It's really just such a touching thing here. Meanwhile, Prabodh, a disciple of the mother's from Badanganj, came to see her at Jairambati. According to his guru's instruction, Prabodh accompanied Nagan to his house in Badanganj, bought him a couple of shirts, and gave him a train fare back to Bellarmine. When Nagan arrived, Shivananda embraced him. Oh, beautiful. From fear to an embrace. That's the meaning of grace, you guys. That's true grace, and that's when you know that you have it in yourself, that you have the confidence to go and approach the mother and receive that embrace. Have faith that you know you will receive that embrace, that trust in her word, that trust in her character, that trust in her heart, right? When Nagan arrived, Shivananda embraced him and said, my boy, you went to the high court to complain against me. Sometimes Holy Mother disapproved of some monks' improper behavior. Once a monk in Bellarmine slapped a servant for insubordination. Goodness gracious. Can you imagine? Wow. When the mother heard about it, she said, they are monks. A tree is their proper shelter. Now they have monasteries, houses, and servants to boot. They even go to the length of beating the servants. Wow. The disciples believed that Ramakrishna dwells in his order. It was at the master's behest that Swamiji established the Ramakrishna order, where people would come to attain perfection. No one becomes a monk after having attained perfection. On the 19th of August, 1929, Swami Shivananda said to the monks, quote, the Supreme Brahman itself has now come down to Sri Ramakrishna. We have seen with our own eyes how infinite was his forgiveness. There's where our faith comes from. How infinite was his forgiveness. How wonderful was his mercy. As for Holy Mother, there can be no comparison with her. She is none other than the mother of the universe. I have even heard that when someone came and reported to her that somebody had committed the most despicable sinful act, the mother heard the whole report bravely. Then the reporter requested the mother, if you summon him and take him to task a little, it will be good. The mother replied, my son, It is all very well for you to talk like that, but I am his mother. To you he may be an offender and so detestable, but to his mother he is not so. Being his mother, can I hate my son? So wonderful was her forgiveness. All these things have happened before our eyes. And this is why we worship. This is why we practice. This is why we're joyful and fearless. Because we know we have a mother, by her own words. The monks consulted Holy Mother whenever any question arose regarding the ideal of the Ramakrishna order, and they accepted her answer without hesitation. They knew the Master was working through her. In January of 1901, Swami Vivekananda went to Advaita Ashrama at Mayavati in the Himalayas. He stayed there for a couple of weeks. He dedicated this ashrama to Advaita and to the Advaita alone, and decreed that no ritual should ever be performed there, and no shrine set up. He established this center for people who cherished the monistic ideal, especially Westerners, so that they could practice the non-dualistic philosophy of the Vedanta. One morning, Swamiji happened to enter a room in the ashrama building and found a shrine with a picture of Ramakrishna. A monk was performing worship with flowers and sandal paste and other offerings. Swamiji said nothing at the time, but that evening, when all the members were gathered around the fireplace, he vehemently expressed his disapproval of ritualistic worship in an Advaita ashrama. He asked the ashrama members to pay attention only to the subjective side of religion, practicing meditation, studying the scriptures, and absorbing the monastic ideal, free from dualistic weakness or dependence. He did not order them to close the shrine or hurt the feelings of those who were in favor of the ritual. He wanted to see them to see their mistake and to rectify it. They closed the shrine on the 18th of March, 1902. After returning to Bellarmont, Swamiji remarked, I thought of having one center at least from which the external worship of Sri Ramakrishna would be excluded. But I found that the old man had already established himself even there. Well. You see, there's relationship. Do you see how sweetly he talks about Ramakrishna and how real Ramakrishna was to him even after the body passed? You know, that he says, I had hoped to just have one place where there would be no ritual worship, you know, and now I see that the old man has even made it here. Well. I love those little windows that they give us into the delightful personal nature of that relationship, you know, and I really encourage all of us to have that kind of relationship. Not only do we make Vedanta our own, you know, not only do we make practice our own, we make God our very own in reaction to, or in response to, the fact that God has made us her own. That God has given us that love and has given us that insight and given us that strength and the invitation and the opportunity to be in that presence, to be in that light of love. He's given us such a potential for this life, so far beyond the ideal of household or monk, you know, that promise of oneness, that promise of infinity, of immortality. Later, soon after Vivekananda's passing away, his disciple Swami Vimalananda, who favored the dualistic ideal, wrote to Holy Mother and asked her to clarify the matter. She answered his letter from Jairambati on the 31st of August in 1902. He who is our guru, Ramakrishna, is an Advaitin, a non-dualist. Since you are all his disciples, you too are Advaitins. I can emphatically say that you are all definitely non-dualists. This letter settled the issue for the members of the Advaita Ashrama, and ritualistic worship was never performed there again. When Swami Vivekananda established the Ramakrishna order, he also envisioned a monastic order for women. When Sharat Chakrabarti doubted that there would be enough suitable women to start an order, Swamiji replied, "Even now there are some women devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. I shall start this monastery with their help. Holy Mother will be their central figure, and the wives and daughters of the Master's devotees will be the first inmates. They will also easily appreciate the usefulness of such a mott. Then, following their example, many householders will help with this noble work. With Holy Mother as the center of inspiration, a mott is to be established on the eastern bank of the Ganges, as brahmacharins and sadhus will be trained in this mott at Belur Mott. So in the other mott also, brahmacharinis and sadhvis will be trained." What a beautiful time to have that vision of that convent, in service of Holy Mother and the Master. I personally, obviously, really, really thankful for it. There's a power through God in women that is just unmatched. God shining through a woman can show such a power of grace, such a convincing show of love and mercy, that it can melt even the most staunch heart. It can reach even the most buried devotee who's just lost in his own mire of delusion and ignorance. But with Mother, there's always a deep, 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 deep knowledge in the Mother that is able to touch a human being in such a special way. I think it was a misfortune that women saw this as didn't have this kind of opportunity, didn't have this kind of, quote, privilege. But now with the vision of Swamiji, really not just allowing them to do it, but encouraging and providing space and providing energy and providing just the map to give them a vision and an ideal. Swamiji's wish was fulfilled in 1954 during events celebrating Holy Mother's birth centenary, when a small piece of land with a few buildings was procured at Dakshineshwar and Sharda Math was established. Yes. It was Swamiji who named Holy Mother Sangha Janani, the Mother of the Order. There, an official name, the Sangha Janani, the Mother of the Order. The Mother of the Order. Beautiful. She always nurtured and protected the order, especially during critical times. In December of 1916, Lord Carmichael, the governor of Bengal, accused the Ramakrishna Mission of giving shelter to political revolutionaries under the umbrella of its philanthropic activities, saying they often seize the opportunity which membership in a charitable society like the Ramakrishna Mission or participation in the relief of distress gives them to meet and to influence the boys who have noble ideas, but who have not enough experience to judge where a particular course must lead. The government discovered that some revolutionaries had been inspired by Vivekananda's books, so they surmised that the monks of the Ramakrishna order were behind the freedom movement. The governor's remark created a great apprehension among the monastics as well as the general public. Some well-wishers of the mission suggested that Sharadananda remove those monks who had a revolutionary background. And there's a footnote here that say the Swamis Pragyananda, Chinmayananda, Atma Prakashananda, and Satyananda. So some of them wanted the monks who had revolutionary background removed from the order, but Swami Sharadananda was deeply concerned about the future of those dedicated, pure, and noble souls. Sharadananda recalled, "I went to Holy Mother and informed her of the whole situation. She listened to me calmly, and then she said firmly, 'My goodness, what is the matter? The Master was the embodiment of truth. These boys have taken shelter in the Master, embraced his ideal, and become monks, renouncing their families. They have shunned personal worldly enjoyment and dedicated their lives to serve the country and suffering people. My son, why would they pretend? You had better go to the governor and meet him. He is the representative of the king. If you explain to him the activities of the Ramakrishna mission, he will definitely listen. I love how Mother wanted just to take that head on, you know, just go to him directly and talk to him directly and tell him about our ideal. You know, there's just, she wasn't afraid, you know, she wanted it really dealt with in the light like that.
You know, I think this kind of, in a way, goes to what you were talking about yesterday for people that saw that, you know, holding somebody's past against them in the present really, you know, it's a bad thing to do. It's, you know, we should let go of their past just as much as we let go of our past, you know.
No, it's very true. It's also beautiful that she recognized, you know, that exactly that just because of these monks' past, you don't just exclude them or throw them out for the health of the order. You know, you stand by them as well. You have to, you can't just, you know, lop them off as kind of, you know, what would you say? Just, you know, flotsam.
Well, you know, if you close the door on everybody and didn't give them another chance, you would never know that they changed or reformed, you know?
Yeah, and it shows that the grace of God is not like that. You know, the grace of God is firm, and it's for you, and it's not conditioned. You know, it's not that you, as long as you, you know, do good things and are good things and blah blah blah, that you can join here. No, everybody has this permission. Everybody has the support who undertakes those vows, who undertakes that ideal. I really like that they didn't just sacrifice that small group so that the order didn't have to deal with the problem. Mother wanted the problem dealt with face to face, you know, and she would demand that those young monks.
Yeah, because, you know, that's what I was thinking when I heard it. You know, like a true aspirant in the present, the past doesn't matter.
Yes, no, that's always be true. Yeah,
you know, because in the present is all that matters.
Right. But then the beauty of this is Mother assuming that those monks had that renunciation, assuming for the benefit of them, that they were not involved in those activities and that they had, in fact, taken shelter in the masters, which is why she really lines it out there, you know, that these monks had gone and taken shelter under Ramakrishna. And she gave them her full confidence. Another eyewitness recorded that after listening to everything, Holy Mother firmly said, "The Ramakrishna Math and mission have come into existence by the will of the Master. To break the rules of the monastic order due to the pressure and rage of government is adharma, unrighteousness. Those who have taken monastic vows, those who have surrendered to the Master will stay in the monastery. Otherwise, no one should stay here. My children will take shelter under a tree and nonetheless will not deviate from the truth." The Mother's resolute statement reassured everyone in the order. Swami Premananda joyfully remarked, "Now there is a satisfactory solution on this matter." Wonderful. This is why Ramakrishna knew he could trust Holy Mother to be the first guide to the order, you know, to bring it into its maturity and to establish it. That was no small feat and no small amount of trust on the part of Ramakrishna, you know, that he had given his life of renunciation and training and raising up these men and women to become monastics at some point. And when he passed, who did he put in charge and give responsibility of all of them to? It was Holy Mother. That shows the immense amount of trust that he had and confidence that he had, and how he was willing to place her, a woman, in those days, in a leadership role of really guiding the first days of the order, and doing that on purpose, doing that as a point, and then letting it unfold that way. It's a wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
Also, this was this is during the British rule.
Yeah.
And the monks who had joined, the British was saying that, because those monks are in the order is again, part of that revolution. So it had a lot to do, with the whole order.
Yeah.
And so mothers, having them to go and talk to the British themselves solved a big problem.
Yeah, it was a very wise move on her part, and a great show of strength on her part also, and a great deal of trust. It's interesting because she's showing a great deal of trust in the British government also, knowing that they wouldn't be arrested on arrival, that they would be listened to, that they would be heard, and that the truth would be brought out. So she really showed some very, very deep insight and some very, very deep strength and fearlessness in making that decision. Sharadananda followed Holy Mother's advice. He consulted with the attorney Dasharati Sanyal, one of Swamiji's former classmates, and they prepared a memorandum on behalf of the governing body of the Ramakrishna Math Mission. On the 23rd of January, 1917, Sharadananda met with Mr. Gorley, the governor's chief secretary, and handed the memorandum to him. On the 2nd of March, Mr. Gorley and Mr. Denham, a high-ranking police official, came to Bellarmine to meet with Sharadananda. They arranged for him to speak with the governor on the 10th of March. On that day, the Swami talked to the governor for nearly an hour. He was able to remove the governor's misgivings regarding the activities of the Ramakrishna Mission. Following the meeting, Lord Carmichael wrote Sharadananda on the 26th of March, 1917, this: Dear Sir, I thank you for having come to see me and for the trouble you have taken to tell me about the origin of the Ramakrishna Mission and its aims and objects. I read with great interest the memorial which the mission authorities submitted to me some time ago. I regret very much to hear that words used by me at the Dunbar in December last regarding the mission should have led in any way to the curtailment of the good religious, social, and educational work the mission has done and is doing. As you, I know, realize, my object was not to condemn the Ramakrishna Mission and its members. I know the character of the mission's work. It's entirely non-political, and I have heard nothing but good of its work of social service for the people. Yours sincerely, Carmichael. How else could it have come out? Under the guidance of Ma. It was very unusual for a British governor to apologize for a statement and to withdraw it in writing. This removed the cloud of doubt that hung over the Ramakrishna Mission. It is natural for every organization to go through ups and downs. However, the Mother guided the Ramakrishna order in the right direction, and thus the journey of the Ramakrishna Mission continued triumphantly with her blessings. The Ramakrishna Mission is well known for its philanthropic activities, including relief work when there is a natural disaster. Holy Mother always encouraged the monks to help suffering people when needed. In the last part of 1918, there was a famine in Orissa. Swami Sharadananda went to Puri to supervise the mission's relief work. He wrote a long letter to the Mother describing the suffering of the people and requested her to pray to the Master. Prabodh Chattopadhyaya, a disciple of the Mother, read the letter to her. She listened to the letter and cried, saying, Master, I can't see or hear any more suffering. Please stop the people's pain and misery. Wow. She listened to the letter and cried. Then she said to Prabodh, "Do you notice the gigantic heart of Sharat? He is like Vasuki, a mythological thousand-hooded snake who carries the whole universe on his head. Wherever there is rain, Sharat spreads an umbrella. Sharat is a large-hearted person, and his heart cries out on behalf of the suffering of beings. He is serving and feeding all like a protector." Then she prayed, "Master, supply Sharat with everything. Give him plenty so that he can provide enough for all." And that's what happens when Mother trusts you. You know, when you've really given her heart, then she will give that kind of prayer. Give him plenty so that he can provide enough for all. It's beautiful. That's why Thakur, teaches us that sincerity and that earnestness are the most important things. Sincerity, earnestness, truth, and love. Those are the most important things in spiritual life. And this is what it brings about, this kind of integrity, this kind of clarity, this kind of purity. At Udbodhan House, Holy Mother always reminded the monks of the Master's great teaching. Adapt according to person, place, and time. This is especially important in community life because selfishness and egotism disrupt peace and harmony in a monastery or in a family. In 1911, a monk living in Udbodhan House made a serious mistake. Swami Brahmananda asked him to move to Bellarmine, but the monk was reluctant to do so. Sharadananda reported this to the mother and told her that the monk was disobedient. Holy Mother also asked the monk to go to Bellarmine, but he would not listen to her either. She then remarked about the monk, "It is not right that he does not listen to the disciples of the Master. He does not like to do any work. Can anyone improve one's mind without work? Can anyone practice japam and meditation 24 hours a day? It is better to have some work. It keeps the mind in good condition." In 1912, a disciple told Holy Mother, "Some say that the hospital work, selling books, and accounting are not proper for monks because the Master did not do such work. A monk is supposed to perform worship, japam, meditation, and kirtan, which turn the mind to God. Other mundane activities turn the mind to the world." Holy Mother listened and then said firmly, "How will you pass the whole day without work? Can anybody practice japa and meditation 24 hours of the day? You are referring to the Master's life. His life was different. Mathur provided nourishing food for him. You have regular meals because you give some service here. Otherwise, you will have to beg for your food from door to door. That is why my Naren started all these centers for work. Our organization will function this way. Those who cannot adjust must leave." Once a monk was leaving the order and he came to receive the mother's blessings. It was heartbreaking for the mother to see a monk leave. Both she and the monk wept, and after a while the mother wiped her tears with a corner of her sari and asked the monk to wash his face. She affectionately told him, "My son, don't forget me. I know you won't, but still I say so." The monk said, "Mother, will you forget me?" Holy Mother replied, "Oh my God." Holy Mother replied, "Can a mother forget her son? No, for certain. I will always be with you. Don't be afraid." When the monk left Udbodhan House, the mother watched him through her window till he was no longer visible. Swami Sharadananda, a former station master at Hathras, was the first monastic disciple of Swami Vivekananda. He served his guru in the Ramakrishna order so intensely that he died on the 18th of February, 1911, at the age of 46. Holy Mother came to him during his last illness. On the 25th of November 1910, during Sadhananda's last illness, Holy Mother, along with Yogan Ma and Golap Ma, came to see him. Sadhananda prostrated himself at her feet and said with tears in his eyes, "Mother, please bless me at the same way that you blessed me 22 years ago. With that blessing, I've been able to lead a monastic life. Now the time has come to depart. I do not know what awaits me on the other shore." Holy Mother blessed him and said, "What fear have you, my son? The Master himself is waiting there with open arms to embrace you." But Sadhananda was not satisfied. In a voice choked with emotion, he said, "Please bless me once again, the way you blessed me 22 years ago." Holy Mother remained quiet. Seeing this, Sadhananda grew all the more restless and said, "Mother, if you do not bless me the way you did before, then sitting at your feet, I shall put an end to my life right here, right now." The compassionate Holy Mother then blessed Sadhananda by touching his head to her feet. No one knows how Holy Mother had blessed him 22 years earlier, nor does anyone know what blessings she bestowed upon him that day. Sadhananda's devotion to the Holy Mother was truly unique. Earlier, Sadhananda would often visit the house at Bagbazar where Holy Mother lived, yet he would rarely go upstairs to see Holy Mother and pay his obeisance. When asked why, he said, "Everything in spiritual life is attained if one sees Holy Mother but once." These words, which emerged from the innermost depths of his soul, reveal Sadhananda's deep devotion for Holy Mother. All right, we'll stop there for tonight.